Recording in
Hello, book lovers and English learners. Welcome to our November live read along. I'm Lydie Bureau and I'm an English teacher in France. I'm also the founder of Lydie's Book Club, a book club for learners of English. And in this book club, I host live readings and live workshops on adaptations of classics of literature and contemporary novels in their original text. I also tend to prioritize books that are written by women. So each month we read and explore a different book for all levels of English. And 3 times a month, we meet with the members of the book club in a live workshop session via Zoom to discuss the chapters read over that week so that the members of the book club can practice their speaking skills and critical thinking skills. This is where the magic happens, where you, as a learner of English, can improve your speaking skills and your English as a whole through the live discussion and also meet other book lovers. This month we are reading the A2 plus adaptation of The Age of Innocence by Edith Wharton. This is a 2022 Penguin Readers edition. And this is an adaptation of this book. The original text is here, so you can see the difference in size. So if you want to know more about this novel and Edith Wharton's work, I invite you to listen to the podcast episode 26 of Reading English podcast. It's called An Introduction to Edith Wharton and the Age of Innocence, and it's available on the YouTube channel, Lydie's Book Club YouTube channel, and on the Spotify podcast Reading English. So you can find the podcast on these two platforms. And this way you have a better understanding of the author and her work. Also, I would like to add also that you can also find out more about writing The Age of Innocence with the online exhibit on the Mount's website. The Mount is Edith Wharton's former home in America, in Massachusetts. And it's now a museum that you can visit. And they have put together this online exhibit with archives, pictures of Edith Wharton's manuscripts and everything. So you will find the link in the description of the website. And you, if you doing research on Edith Wharton, then it's a great place to start with and to learn more about the writing of The Age of Innocence. So today it is our third live reading session of The Age of Innocence, the adaptation, and we are going to read chapters 5 and 6 today. And this Saturday, I will host the first live workshop of the novel based on the chapters of this adaptation. So if you want to attend this live session, then you just need to subscribe to the book club by following the link in the description. This way you'll find all the upcoming dates of the next workshops and also the live readings. And final information for you. I'm pleased to announce that now you can purchase the live workshop, the 4-part live workshop of North and South, which was our live reading of October. And now the 4 live workshops are available to purchase on Lydie's Book Club website. You don't need to become a member to buy the the package, let's say, you just need you can just buy it on its own. And once you get the live workshop, then you have to create a login. And this way, with your own login, you will have access to a private space on the website. And this way you'll be able to watch the videos on your own time and at your own pace as well. So you can find the link of the workshop store in the description of this video as well. Right. That being said, now I can start doing a quick recap of the chapters that we've read. Not yesterday, last week. So it's going to be a uh, good way for me to refresh my memory about the story, and especially the event that happened in chapter 3 and 4. So what we learn in chapter 3 is that Archer has been invited by the Countess Olenska at her house. She used to stay at Mrs. Mingott's, her grandmother's house, but she recently moved out, and now she lives down West 23rd Street, which is not a very nice area for according to the high society of New York. Everything that is outside a certain district of New York, the old district of New York, is considered as unsafe and unsafe and not a pleasant area or place to live. But it seems like it's fine with Mrs. Olenska, with the Countess. And she has invited Newland Archer, to her cousin, a future cousin-in-law, because Newland is about to get married. He's engaged to May Welland, and May Welland is Ellen Olenska's cousin. So they are going to become cousin-in-law soon. But yeah, it doesn't seem to mind the Countess, and Archer pays her a visit as requested, or as he was kindly invited, and then they discuss about living in New York, and the fact that what surprises Newland Archer is that she seems to not really pay attention to her whereabouts. So and who she goes out with, because she has been seen out with Mr. Beaufort, and people have been talking. People from the circle of the high society of New York, and Newland is trying to make her understand that she should be careful with who she goes out with and where, because Beaufort is not really well appreciated in the New York society circle. He is highly criticized, although he and his wife regularly host this grand ball. They do not come from a long line of noble people from New York society, and this is not well viewed by Ellen's family and other influent family of New York society. So Newland is trying to warn her, but she doesn't seem to take him seriously. And he doesn't really like the fact that she is sort of joking about the way people behave and how does this matter? Because she's been living in Europe for a long time, and in Europe, things are not that strict, and there is more freedom in a way, or at least she feels more free over there. And well, she lives differently. And she doesn't seem to understand that New York has its own rules. He goes back to goes back home, and one day he meets with May, with his fiancée May Welland, and he doesn't mention that he has seen Ellen Olenska, that he visited her, and that, but he reveals May that he sent the Countess nice roses, yellow roses. So he's very open to reveal the fact that he sent Ellen flowers, but he doesn't mention that he visited her. So in a way, he's hiding it to May. So what do you think that means? Why do you think he is hiding this information? Should he have told May, um, or is he? Do you think he's hiding something or not? I would love to hear what you think about this aspect of the story, or the how Newland behaves here. And when they're having a stroll here, you have a beautiful, a lovely illustration of Newland here and May walking in Central Park in the middle of winter. And they're discussing about their engagement, the marriage, their wedding. And Newland seems to be in a hurry to get married, and doesn't necessarily want to wait, because they're supposed to wait for a whole year before they get married, sorry. But Newland wants to move the date forward. So that's also quite intriguing. Why is he in a hurry to get married so soon? What's behind that? Do you think he's hiding something again, or not? Or what do you think? Um, and after that, we move on to chapter 4, where the plot is getting a little bit more twisted here because Newland works in a lawyer's firm, and his boss, Mr. Letterblair, asks him to take care of a private matter, which is the Countess' request to divorce her husband. So the Countess Olenska wants to divorce Count Olensky. But there is a letter. So Count Olensky sent a letter to the Countess saying that through their mutual lawyers, I guess, stating that she has been unfaithful to him. She left with his secretary. And in brief, Mr. Letterblair is asking Newland Archer to dissuade or to convince the Countess to stop her to stop any procedure she started to get a divorce. So Newland is feeling quite embarrassed. First of all, as you can imagine, he is his cousin, and he doesn't, and he feels that is a very private affair, so he doesn't really want to get into this. But Mr. Letterblair managed to convince him that he'd better get on with the case or take care of this case if he wants a promotion, if he wants to move up in the firm. He kinds of implies that if he refuses, this will look bad on him. So Archer, but it doesn't say it. It doesn't say anything, but the way he looks at him, the fact that it implies as well, sorry, I forgot to mention this aspect as well, is that if she goes through the divorce and or she continues with the procedure, then there will be talks, and this would reflect bad on him because he's going to be soon part of this family. So as we know, image and appearances are very important in New York society in the late 19th century. So as I was saying just before, Mr. Letterblair doesn't say much. It just says that there will be very unpleasant talk. And he doesn't need to say more because Archer understands very clearly that this will mean that he will reflect bad on him if she continues with the divorce inquiry. And sorry. So he accepts in a way. So he doesn't have any other choice than accept this case and go and talk to the Countess. So, oh, again, sorry. So he visits the Countess again. So you've got here a lovely illustration. We've got um, Newland is here. The Countess is sitting on the sofa, and this is Beaufort. So Mr. Beaufort. And um, when Newland knocks at Mrs. Olenska's door, he realizes that she's not alone, and that Mr. Beaufort is there. So he's a little bit, I would say, not jealous, but uncomfortable. He doesn't like Mr. Beaufort, and is a little bit annoyed that he's there. But soon, Ellen Olenska asks Mr. Beaufort to leave the room, well, to leave the house, and they start, and Newland. So this way, Newland and the Countess are free to speak privately. Okay, sorry. And Archer eventually managed to convince the Countess, although, oh, sorry about that. Okay, this is winter. Okay, so Newland manages to convince the Countess that public talk and about the divorce would look bad on her reputation, and on the reputation of the family. But he doesn't say that. He explains that he will be damaging for her, but doesn't say about the family. Instead, he says that the family just only wants what's best for her. So he's being very diplomat here, and in the end, she agrees to leave the case and to not go forward. Although Newland doesn't really agree with the fact that she should put up with this violent man, and that she should have the right to divorce. So there is a little bit of realization from Newland in terms of how women's condition forces them, or the fact that society forces women to stick with their husbands now that they are married, no matter what happens, whether he's hitting her, beating her, or cheating on her, she should stick with him. Well, here there is no allegation of or no there is no mention of the fact that he's been violent towards her specifically, but we definitely know that he's been cheating on her, and she should accept it as it is. She should be content with the fact that she's married to a count, that if she divorces him, she would have to give up on a lot of things, a lot of comfort, travel, furnitures and dresses, clothes and everything. She had to give up a lot of things. And most importantly, she would have to give up her title and all these advantages and her status in society, New York society, or in any European circles, high society circles. So that would look back on her, that she dares asking for divorce. And she thanks Archer for Newland Archer for advising her to not, well, to warn her about the consequences of asking for divorce. But Archer, I don't think, well, Archer doesn't seem to be in the right mind or to agree with what he's has been asked to do, because he doesn't understand why she could not be set free as um, as men. There is a very powerful phrase that he says. Um, I forgot to underline it, and where he says that women should be free as men. Yes, indeed. So let's read chapter 5 now. Okay, running away. Who's running away? Snow lay on the ground under a pale winter sky. When Archer arrived at Skyter Cliff, sorry for my previous pronunciation, but it's pronounced Skyter Cliff, although there is a U. So a good pronunciation trick here. So you don't pronounce the U, because it's I checked, and it's a Norwegian name. The origin of the name are Norwegian, so that's probably why there is a U. Skuy, so Sky to Cliff. On Sunday afternoon, it's a place. There, he learned from a servant that Countess Olenska was at church with Mrs. van der Leyden. Again, I was sorry for my pronunciation in the other videos. The van der Leyden. It's again Swedish or not Danish. My apologies. A Dutch name. Here we go. So this is a Dutch, Mr. and Mrs. van der Leyden come from a very long line of a Dutch noble people, and there is a U as well, Luyden, and it's pronounced in English Leyden, van der Leyden. Living, so Countess Olenska was at church with Mrs. van der Leyden, living his horse with the servant. Archer walked towards the village, hoping to meet Mrs. van der Leyden's carriage. So remember, the carriage is the car, basically, at the time, that is pulled by horses. So it's here. That's the carriage. Here. Right. Soon He noticed someone in red on the path ahead. It was the Countess. Ah, you've come, she said when he reached her. When he reached her, in her bright, in her, in her bright red coat, she looked lively and happy, like the Ellen Mingott he remembered. And he laughed. The ground seemed to sing under their feet as they began to walk back together across the snow. So you can see that there is a lovely picture here of, well, the Countess and Newland here. I came to see you. I came to see what you were running away from, he said. A cloud passed over her face as she answered. You'll soon see. Then, more brightly, she said, I'm cold after sitting in church. I need to warm up. Let's run a race. And lifting up her coat, she ran away across the snow. For a moment, Archer could only stand and watch. Then he ran after her and met her at the gate to the Skytacliff Gardens. Both of them were breathing fast and laughing. She looked up at him and smiled. Did May ask you to look after me? I came because of your letter, he replied, his heart beating fast. You're laughing now, he said. But when you wrote me that letter, you were unhappy. Yes, but I can't feel unhappy when you're here, she answered. And I live in the moment when I'm happy. His heart started to beat even faster. Was she running away from him? Was she afraid of her feelings for him? Ellen, tell me what's wrong. He waited for her to answer. He thought about her moving closer, reaching her arms around his neck. It seemed so real that he could almost feel her touch. Then, as he waited silently, almost without breathing, a man in a heavy winter coat appeared on the path in front of them. It was Julius Beaufort. Oh, she said, seeing Beaufort. Beaufort was smiling at them both, but Archer could see that he was cross, not to find the Countess alone. So I think when no, it didn't happen yet. Sorry. Okay. So you can see that they becoming closer and closer. These two. Countess, I've hurried here to give you some news. I found you a perfect little house to move to, Beaufort announced. But one day I won't need to travel to tell you something like this. There'll be a new way of talking. The telephone, they call it. I'll be able to stay at home in front of my warm fire and speak to you. The Countess laughed at the thought of this crazy idea and continued to talk about it until they all arrived back at the house. There, Archer quickly found his horse and hurried away. During his journey, he thought about Beaufort, the man that the Countess was running away from. But did she really not like him, or was she afraid of her feelings for him? Maybe she even secretly wanted him. Maybe she even secretly wanted him to follow her to Skytacliff. Beaufort might interest her more than other men, because he was more like the Europeans that she knew. Back in New York, Archer felt bored at work, with little to do. At home, even a box of the best new books from London could not interest him. He could not stop thinking about Countess Olenska and Beaufort. His mother and sister became worried that he was working too hard. 4 days later, he received a message from the Countess. Come late tomorrow. I must explain to you, Ellen. Archer read it. Archer read it many times. Finally, his answer was to leave the house that afternoon and jump on a boat to St. Augustine in Florida. Early the next morning, he walked down the sandy street in St. Augustine to the Wellens house and saw May under an orange tree with the sun in her hair. Why did I wait so long to come? He asked himself. Where was the truth? The life that was his. Here was the truth, the life that was his. Newland, has anything happened? Asked May, looking worried. Yes, I had to see you, he answered, and she smiled happily. Her skin was a warm brown, and her hair was full of light. He put his arm around her and kissed her, but she pulled away quickly. When Archer saw May's parents, he had to explain his arrival. I was worrying about catching a cold, so Mr. Letterblair ordered me to take a holiday, he said. You must stay until you're completely better, said May's mother, kindly. After breakfast, she spoke to him alone. The whole family wants to thank you for asking Ellen to give up the idea of divorce. We knew that you were thinking of doing the right thing for May. So here you see that it's in the best interest of the family and not evidently not in the best interest of Ellen. Archer's face burned at hearing Ellen's name. Poor Ellen, she was always a wild little girl, continued Mrs. Welland. Who knows what her future will be? Archer wanted to say, her future will be what we make of for her. If you want her to be Beaufort's lover, you're doing the right things. But of course he did not, and he was relieved to see May coming back from a drive with her father. So there is a lot of restraint and inner thinking and is really restraining himself from talking and from expressing his true feelings. He wanted to speak to Mrs. Welland about the date of his wedding, not about Countess Olenska. Now, his only hope was to ask May again, but he wanted until the day before he left for New York. We could travel together in Europe in the spring if we get married in early April, he said. I love listening to your dreams, Newland, replied May. Why does it have to be a dream? Why should we wait? He cried. Don't you understand how much I want you to be my wife? May looked at him closely. I'm not sure if I do understand, she said quietly. I've noticed something different in you since we announced our engagement. Newland, is there someone else between you and me? No, that's crazy, he answered. Hi, Kitty. Thank you for joining. I'm page 36 here. 36. So it's the end, at the end of chapter 5. Okay. So I hope you'll be able to catch up. Where was that? Oh, yeah. So May is questioning Newland about his behavior and the fact that he wants to hurry the date of the wedding. He wants to move forward the date of the wedding. So I've noticed something different in you since we announced our engagement. Newland, is there someone else between you and me? No, that's crazy, he answered. Then why shouldn't we speak of it? But if there is someone else, I don't want you to make a mistake and marry me. So she's being very open. So for the first time, she's speaking freely and openly to him because she sensed that there's something going on with him. But I'm asking you to get married in April, so how can I think that it's a mistake? Maybe you want to decide quickly. Newland, I know that you loved someone else before me. Everyone was talking about it 2 years ago. I don't want to be happy if it makes someone else unhappy. If you feel that you've made a promise to that other woman, I don't want to stand in your way. Hmm. For a moment, Archer could not speak. He was shocked that May was talking openly about Mrs. Rushworth, the woman that he once loved. He could see how difficult it was for her too. So not that innocent in a way. I've promised myself to no one else, my dearest May, he said at last. And I love you for understanding so many things. So why should we do what other people expect? She turned her happy face toward him, and her eyes were wet. The next moment, Archer saw that the brave woman was gone, and May was the innocent girl again. So for a brief moment, um, May was a woman in a way. She acted as her equal. She spoke her mind. But that was only for a brief moment because then she returned to her old May, her old self. And we can feel that Newland is a little bit disappointed. Hmm? Right. Chapter 6 now. Back in New York, Archer visited old Mrs. Mingott with gifts from her family in Florida. I want May to marry me in April, but she won't agree, he told her. Oh, the Mingott family are all frightened of being different. I'm a Mingott by marriage, of course, but I'm not like them. I was born vulgar. I was born vulgar Catherine Spicer, but my children are all Mingotts. Only Ellen is like me. Why didn't you marry her? Mrs. Mingott finished with a laugh. She's saying that why didn't you marry Ellen Olenska? Well, Ellen Mingott, she used to be Mingott, uh, instead of May Welland. So you can see here there's the lovely illustration of Mrs. Mingott. She's not, I have to say that she's not well represented because Mrs. Mingott is an old, fat lady. She's very big. She's described as a large person in the original text. She is a large lady, old lady. So here is not an accurate representation, I have to say, to warn you. Yeah. um okay. Archer felt uncomfortable. Please, Mrs. Mingott, he said quickly. Can't you speak to the Wellens? I want to be married quickly. I can't wait. I can't, I can see that. Okay, I can see that, said Mrs. Oh, sorry, that was Archer talking. Can't you speak to the Wellens? I want to be married quickly. I can't wait. I can see that, said Mrs. Mingott, laughing again. Ah, here is my Ellen now. Archer was surprised to see the Countess come in. You know, Newland, You know, Newland ran away to Florida because he wants May to marry him quickly, Mrs. Mingott told her. Surely, Granny, we can help, if that's what he wants, the Countess replied. Archer was thinking about her last message before he went to Florida, which he never replied to. He got up to go, and the Countess took him out to the hall. I was afraid that you were ill when I didn't hear from you, she said. When can I see you? He said quickly. Come soon if you want to see the little house again. I'm moving next week. Moving? Said Archer, shocked again. He remembered those special evenings in her unusual little sitting room. All right, tomorrow at 8. When he arrived the next evening, Archer was disappointed once more to find another visitor already there. But happily, this time it was not Beaufort. It was a strange-looking middle-aged woman with colorful clothes and a black Spanish scarf on her head. She was looking at some red roses lying on the sofa. Oh, my mistake. This is not Mrs. Mingott. This is Mrs. Mendora, which is Count Ellen's auntie. So my apologies. Yeah, because I think that Mrs. Mingott was represented. Is she represented somewhere? No, she's not. Yes, here. Yeah, my mistake. So this is Mrs. Mingott here. So the fat lady. And this lady here in the illustration is Mrs. Mendora. So Ellen Olenska's aunt, the woman who raised her. So my mistake. So the illustration is accurate. Okay. So, dear Mr. Archer, cried the woman, I'm Ellen's aunt, Mrs. Mendora Manson, from Cuba. My niece has told me how you've helped her. Thank heavens that your good advice about the divorce wasn't too late, because now the Count has written to me asking to get her back. What? Cried Archer. I hope that you could get her to forgive him, said Mrs. Manson. She may forgive him, but she can never go back to that terrible marriage, cried Archer. But she had a wonderful life in Europe, full of art and music and conversation. She was loved by everyone. Here she is nobody. Mrs. Manson pointed to the roses. Is that what you prefer? A married man sending her red roses? Sorry, that's Archer. Oh, yeah. Is that what you prefer? A married man sending her red roses? Marriage is marriage, and my niece is still a wife. At that moment, the Countess came into the room. So it seems that probably the roses came from Mr. Beaufort. It doesn't say, but who do you think those roses come from? She looked at the roses on the sofa. Sorry, at that moment, the Countess came into the room. She looked at the roses on the sofa, and a cold anger ran through her. Why has someone sent me flowers like that? I'm not a young girl who's engaged to be married, she cried. But are you going out, Aunt? You'll be late. Mr. Archer, please take my aunt out to her carriage. When Archer came back to the sitting room, the Countess was standing by the fire. do you think of me when I'm angry? She asked. I think that I understand you better. I know that you miss your life in Europe. Archer stopped and looked at her closely. I also know that your husband wants you to go back to him, and your aunt believes that you will. Her face and neck slowly turned red, as if this hurt her. People believe many bad things about me, she said. Oh, Ellen, forgive me. I've been so stupid. I know that you have your own troubles too, she answered. I know that May wants a long engagement and you don't. She thinks that I want to marry her quickly to get away from someone that I love more. Why? Doesn't she want to get married quickly too? Because she's too good. She wants to give me time to choose the other women. But that's stupid. Why? Because you don't love anyone else? Because I'm not going to marry anyone else. Archer cried. May is wrong. I mean, there is another woman, but not the one that she thinks. The Countess was silent. So May wasn't that wrong. She had a good feeling, yeah? The Countess was silent. Archer moved toward her and took her hand. But she pulled it away. Don't. Too many people have tried to make love to me, she said. Whoa. Ellen, you're the woman that I want to marry, only it will never be possible. But it was you who made it impossible, she answered. Your advice was for me not to divorce, and I did what you told me, for you and for May. But I thought your husband wrote things about you in his letter. Nothing in that letter was true. I did what you asked because of you and May. No, cried Archer. He could see nothing in his future, able to lift the pain from his heart. I loved you, he said at last. Well, he had a... I don't know what you feel about Newland's way of loving someone, but it has a strange way to show love. Oh, do not divorce your husband who is cheating on you, but I love you. It's a little bit counterproductive, I would say. Anyway, let's continue. She was crying. Ellen, nothing has happened that can't be undone. I'm still free, and you can be too. He held her in his arms and kissed her. Her face like a wet flower. For a moment, she kissed him back, but then she pushed him away. This doesn't change anything. You're engaged to May, and I'm married. How can I marry May now? We can't lie to other people or to ourselves. But you can never say that to May. The truth is that we must do what's already decided. I don't understand you, he cried. From the very beginning, I felt that there was no one as kind as you, she answered. You see, at first I didn't know that people were embarrassed by me. But then I understood why you announced your engagement early, to give me two families on my side, not just one. And I learned something more important from you. Sometimes we have to give up things that we want for the people who love us. Don't let's undo what we've done. So if I love you, I must give you up. Self-sacrificing here. Self-sacrificing herself. At that moment, Nastasia came to the door with a telegram. The Countess read it and gave it to Archer. Mother and father agreed to marriage in April. I've written to Newland. I'm so happy and love you dearly. Thank you for helping me. May. So that's the end of chapter 6. And well, the end is pretty tell me what you think about the end of chapter 6. Do you think that what do you think is gonna happen now? Uh, are they are they going to hold on to their decision to um keep their love for themselves uh, and never see each other again, never speak to each other again? Or do you think that they will find a way to make this work? Are they going to have an affair? Do you think? Um, but here we see that Ellen is ready to sacrifice her love for her cousin, for society, for her family, and in order to protect the image of their family towards the society of New York. Well, to protect the face, the image of the family for or so that they will not be not rejected, but at least, well, in a way, this can badly reflect on their family and the two families, actually, the Mingotts and the Archers as well, because they will be related. So she knows the huge consequences that their relationship would have on both of them, and the divorce on top of that would affect both of them and their families. So yeah, tell me what I'll let you think about and reflect on these on this issue and this impossible love in a way, this forbidden love, which is very which since the 19th century has been something that came back into literature and other form of arts like the cinema and like films, where there is this dramatic plot with well, dramatic romance between two people not being able to love each other, like a little bit like a Romeo and Juliet. So yeah, although it's Romeo and Juliet in the late 19th century New York, and they have to deal with and she is probably the same age or maybe a little bit older than him, or probably Probably no, probably the same age. It was she's 30. We don't know the age of Newland, but they're roughly the same age, and she's a very mature woman compared to May. She has lived her life, well, quite, she has experience in life, and she's married still. So here we get to the bottom of the reasons why he wanted to announce the engagement at their Beaufort's party, why she accepted to give up on divorcing. And you see that she gives a very different reason. She doesn't give up on the marriage, on the divorce, because it would reflect bad on herself, but she knows that it will affect Archer and May. So she is she's sacrificing herself in a way, sacrificing her love for him, and sacrificing her freedom in a way. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this live reading and that you will be excited to join the live workshop, that you'll be interested in joining the book club. We will have the first live workshop based on chapter 1 to 4 this Saturday. So join us, join the book club and this first live workshop on the Age of Innocence, chapters 1 to 4. Have a beautiful end of the day, and we'll see you hopefully this Saturday at 9 o'clock, 9 a.m. Central European time. And I will see, otherwise, I will see you also on Saturday, but in the afternoon for the fourth live reading session of The Age of Innocence. We will read chapters 7 and 8. Bye.